You may think that to vote, you need to go to your polling place, wait in line, and cast your ballot on Election Day. But we are busy people. Maybe you are traveling, helping family, working, or just want to make sure to vote in case something else comes up on Election Day. Flexible voting options gives us ways to cast our ballot in the manner that works best for us. These options vary depending on what state you are registered and intend to vote in, so be sure to check rotthevote.org for the options available to you. There are two types of flexible voting options: absentee voting and early voting. Let's start with absentee voting. Absentee voting may also be referred to as voting by mail or voting at home. The idea is you complete your ballot at home and then mail it in or drop it off, depending on laws in your state or county. The idea is simple and the benefits are huge. Request a ballot by the deadline. Receive and complete your ballot in the comfort of your home. Allow yourself to research who and what you are voting on and fill it out at your own pace. Then, following the instructions, return your ballot either by mail or at a designated location, depending on your state and county laws. Voting by mail allows you to avoid having to wait in lines for in-person voting, help reduce lines for those who must vote in person, free your schedule to volunteer or help others on Election Day, and make sure you vote no matter what comes up on Election Day. Voting absentee dates back to the Civil War, when soldiers were allowed to vote absentee while they were away from their homes. Over time, the right to vote and the right to vote absentee has expanded. In fact, several states run their elections almost entirely by mail. Voting by mail is safe, effective, and can increase voter turnout. In most states, you have to ask to have your ballot sent to you. Each state has different processes, requirements, and deadlines for requesting an absentee ballot. Yes, there is a deadline to request your ballot. Rock the Vote's absentee ballot request platform helps walk you through the process based on your state's policies and requirements. States vary on whether you can complete your request online, by email, a hard copy form, or even by fax. Visit rockthevote.org to find out more and to request your absentee ballot. Carefully follow the instructions to complete your absentee ballot, paying close attention to which signature you use. Many states require you to use the same signature that's on file with the DMV. Following those guidelines will help to ensure your ballot is not contested or rejected. You may return your ballot by mail. Depending on your state and county, you may be able to drop your ballot at a designated ballot drop box or site. This is very important. There are deadlines for returning your ballot. There are often two deadlines, one by which you have to have it in the mail. This is called the postmarked by deadline. It must be postmarked on or by the state if you are mailing it in. The second deadline is the received by deadline. This is when it needs to be received by the election office. This applies to both mail and drop-off methods. If you are nervous about putting your ballot in the mail or being received by the deadline, check to see if you can drop it off yourself. Also, almost all states enable voters the ability to track their absentee ballot whether you drop it off or mail it in for more assurance. Remember, everything varies by state, so check rotthevote.org for your dates, deadlines, and requirements for voting by mail. The second type of flexible voting options is called early voting. Early voting is voting in person during a designated period. Early voting may also be known as in-person absentee voting. Just think of it as being absent on Election Day, but still voting in person. Usually 2 to 3 weeks before the election, some states and counties may offer evening or weekend hours. Check rockthevote.org for your state and county's early voting days and hours. Polling places are often consolidated into early vote sites, and in many cases, you have your option of which site to visit, providing even more flexibility. It all depends on your state and county's policies. Remember, every state has different policies for flexible voting options, such as dates, deadlines, and requirements to use them. Some states require an excuse to take advantage of flexible voting options. You can find out if your state requires an excuse at rockthevote.org. If your state does require an excuse to take advantage of flexible voting options, you can usually say, you have work or school that will prevent you from voting on Election Day. You will be, or it is likely that you will be traveling and out of town on Election Day. you have an illness or disability that prevents you from voting on Election Day, or you are a democracy champion and will be serving as a poll observer. Now that you know more about flexible voting options, you can find the way to vote that works best for you and your life. There's no off season for democracy. Use your flexible voting options and rock the vote.